Hey, what's up, John? This is Matt in Exile. All right, you got some music in the background, people driving by. But we're going to talk about the border. But first thing we're going to talk about is what's going on in Iraq with the turmoil.
Can you hear me, Matt?
Yeah, I can hear you. Can you hear me?
I can't hear you.
Okay. Anyway, can you hear me now? 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 I don't know. Go ahead and jump out and jump back in. I'm going to go ahead and talk about this article I have here. Jump in, jump out. All right. This article here, a full explosion overnight in the green zone as Baghdad threatens to become the next Kabul. I'm going to go ahead and show you guys a video in this quick.
I've got sound back, Matt.
Okay. All right, that's the end of the video. And as you can tell, that's pretty much a civil war going on there right now, it looks like. And it looks, can you hear me?
I can hear you.
Okay. And when I read these articles, majority of them are contributing to the Shiite and Sunni issue. And the Shiites are being propped up by the Iranians. And the Shia are being propped up by the United States, I guess. And they're the ones that are running the government. It's really a mixed government of people. But the thing is, I believe majority issue has to do with Iran having military assets not only in Syria but also in Iraq. And this is a big protest going on here because of the politicians. Some of the politicians are saying they don't want to have anything to do with the government and they're leaving the government. Now, what exactly do you know about it, John?
Well, pretty much what I know already about it. It has to have been. It's been the same way for about 2 or 3 months now between Israel and Syria. Syria's been kind of like they've been letting some missiles out headed toward Israel and back and forth. The same with the Gaza and what have you. But the problem has been is it has been in that area. It's always been volatile because of Iran. Iran has definitely been hurting because since the Americans put all the sanctions on their billions of dollars worth of stuff, and plus the sanctions on their oil and everything else, it's just been a hellhole for Iran. And then all of a sudden, here comes Biden wanting to undo something that Trump did and put this all the way back to the way it was with the the nuclear deal. And Israel just point blank said, if you're going to do this, that's it. They're gonna hit Iran. Yeah. They're not going to let them get to nuclear capacities.
Now, the other thing is the protest that's going on there. I got another article. Let me go ahead. Okay. In this article, they're going to be talking about the protests and the embassy staff and crew. What's going on there? Now, there's a helicopter at the embassy that picked up the ambassador of the United States to Iraq and got him out of there, as well as the staff. But the rest of the staff that's actually at the embassy is stuck in the embassy, by what I know. Now, I don't know what was the terminology you said that was going on with those guys.
Okay, there's a lockdown at the embassy right now because they went through the protesters. Pretty much, it's a mixed group from what I understand. Some are armed, some have fireworks, but others have revolvers and what have you and guns. But the thing behind it is that they're not letting the embassy people out yet because of the point blank of all the rioters around them. Now the palace, which is in this green zone, has all the embassies, and behind those huge walls, which they've already tore them down, and plus is the big palace there, which is the government palace. The people were supposedly in the swimming pool of the palace, cooling off. Plus, the others were going through the palace, just ransacking and burning through the palace itself. So what else has been going on? I really don't have much more information on it because it's tough getting stuff out of the Mideast. It's most of that stuff is being blocked by one way or another.
Yeah, where I've been getting most of my information is from Al Jazeera.
Yeah, that's one of them.
Al Jazeera and off of Twitter. Yeah.
Al Jazeera is an Arab publication, so they're not going to have any problems they're not having any problems with getting through to anything in the Mideast. No. They actually really cover worldwide. They're kind of like they're like a CNN. If it deals with an Arab entity, they're naturally going to be pro-Arab and like anti-Israel or anti-America, but still just the same. They pretty much the pictures don't lie; they tell the truth.
Yeah. The thing is the Biden administration right now is saying they're not going to evacuate the embassy. There's no need for them to evacuate the embassy. They're acting like nothing's going on. Now they're put in an article I found in Yahoo News. They're saying yes, there's violence going on, but it doesn't have anything to do with us. We're going to be fine. And my thing is, you remember Benghazi?
Yes, Benghazi.
This looks like it could be a potential another Benghazi, like a mixture of Benghazi and also Afghanistan, and then you got also Vietnam, where we a helicopter everybody out, but they didn't get a chance to helicopter everybody out of this situation here.
Yeah. I do want to make apology for right now. If you hear music in the background, that's where you're hearing music through my end, and it's coming from the street. It's actually illegal here. They get away with it. Matter of fact, they're shutting it down right now. But I said I apologize for that. Nothing I can do. We don't have storm windows and stuff like that. You can hear a dog break wind outside.
I agree. Have zero confidence in the Biden administration. Definitely agree with that. Guys, if you comment some in a little bit, we'll talk to you guys and answer any questions you have. Now, John, you have a video on your channel that I went ahead and got, and I'm going to go ahead and show everybody just in case you hadn't seen the video.
Yeah.
Of what's going on in Iraq, and just tell me when you want me to pause it. I'll pause it, and we'll comment and so on and so forth as we go. All right.
All right. It's pretty much self-explanatory. Now that I believe is the palace. I think this is running about 2 minutes. This particular video.
Yeah, it's a little over 2 minutes.
Well, the one that you're looking here, the picture here, to see them coming. In the video itself, you can hear the difference between gunfire and fireworks. There's a different tone to them, and you'll see some people will start running, and then others will just like turn around and look. But I guess it depends upon who's hearing what when. But they're definitely getting, as the expression is, they're getting out of Dodge. You see the cameramen there. Some are, like I said, some are running, some aren't. But I mean, this country has gone through so much, and the government has just literally dumped on them, literally. And I think the video that you have, didn't you have a short, small one that had shows the smoke in the background?
Yeah, I had one that showed the helicopter landing on the heliport on the embassy. Then I had another one where I can't remember what happened in it, but something similar to this. All right, that's a tourist.
Yeah, I don't think I'd want to be a tourist in that town.
No.
Yeah, you can see the smoke and stuff.
Yeah.
That is scary.
Trying to get people out of the embassy. Yeah. Or not embassy, the palace.
Yeah. I see that guy with his arms open. I want to holler, jump. Go ahead, jump.
My first thought when I saw the people next to him, I was like, Antifa showed up in Iraq.
Yeah, there you go. What was it? The Proud Boys are now in Canada?
But it's just more crazy stuff going around the world. And you can't help but think the only reason it's happening is because who's in a White House right now? Because
that's exactly the answer. He's invited everybody in the world into our backyards.
I mean, the thing is, it's no coincidence it happened on the anniversary of him screwing up Afghanistan.
Yeah, of course he doesn't look at that way. $80 billion worth of high-tech equipment to arm the Taliban. I mean, literally, he might as well just have given it to the Chinese right away, because the Chinese are going to get their picks of what they want.
Yep.
They probably already have that stuff. But it's just one country after another. And if you look over this past weekend, last 3-4 days, right in that same vicinity as Iraq and Iran, you've got Syria, you've got Israel looking down the barrel from the Mediterranean Sea at Iran, you've got the Sudan, you've got Sierra Leone, the list is endless right in the Mediterranean there. That's not even talking about what's been going on here in Central and South America.
Now, the thing is, reports have come out that 5 people have died there over these clashes at the palace, and I think it's over 20-something people injured so far. Now, obviously, I think that's going to escalate as time goes on with everything that's going on there. And my question for you is, do you think this is about the oil fields in Iraq for Iran? They want to get control of that like they have control over the oil fields in Syria? Because if you have control of Syria and Iraq, that's, I think, 2 out of 12 or 13 members of OPEC, isn't it?
Something like that. No, I personally think that with this new world order started like, it's like a bowling ball going down an alley at a bunch of pins. They threw the ball down there back in 2020. And it struck the pocket of the pins. And now they're falling one by one. And each country has its own desires that they want. For instance, like you said, too, the oil is a major thing that Iran can get. I mean, for them, that would make them a huge power in OPEC.
Yeah. Not only that, they'll be taking land back that was part of the Ottoman Empire at one time.
Yeah. I mean, all these countries, you look at China with Taiwan. Not only do they get Taiwan back, they get 60% of all the semiconductor made in the world, plus what they make. It's like 70 or 80 total percent. That's crazy. In other words, these countries stand to make major gains. Some countries are falling apart because of the government is just point blank leaving. Sri Lanka, it's neither a win nor a loss for any new government in there. It's just a country that's lost. Same here in Central and South America. Venezuela went from a legitimate power until Daniel Ortega started getting Maduro started getting his fingers into everything. And now it's turned into a third world country again. But now Russia's there, and they're helping them to rebuild a nice communist country that's going to get their oil riches back and everything else and not have to worry about the United States.
Now, the question I have when it comes to Russia. Now, as you know, I believe it was a week ago, Biden sent bombs into Syria, and also parts of Iraq, where they took out some Iranian military assets that the Revolutionary Guard had there. And my question is this protest also another reason this protest is happening is because of what Biden did about a week ago?
It's entirely possible. A lot of these protests and a lot of these things are just nothing more than distractions.
Yeah.
Because when you distract from the main goal, and we really don't know. I mean, I now understand when they meant back it just after the C-elections in 2020 to, when it got into January, February, them coming out saying like, people, you cannot believe how deep the deep state is. It's deeper than you could ever imagine. It is really deeper than everything we can imagine. I mean, we've been talking for the last literally couple of years about who really is at the head of all this, and then we've been pointing the fingers at Obama, and then here comes Hillary Clinton, and then all of a sudden here comes this guy by the name of Donald Trump that he wants to make things right, and he sees all the corruptness, and all of a sudden he's not a player. In other words, he wasn't part of the club, and they don't care how much money he had. Now,
the other thing is, Russia's involved with Iran when it comes to the nuclear deal we're trying to make with Iran, because they're facilitating these talks we're having with them. So does it make sense now that we bombed some of their assets in Syria and Iraq, that we're still having talks with them? It doesn't really make any sense. The foreign policy of the Biden administration and of the, let's just say, the corporate elite, as well as the deep staters, don't make any sense. We're gonna bomb them, but then we're gonna keep on talking to them about having a nuclear agreement and using Russia to to get this done. And at the same time, we're in a proxy war with Russia and Ukraine. I mean, it's insane to me, and it doesn't make any sense.
I think they're making things complicated just so it still doesn't make sense. There always is a purpose for everything. Yes. Somebody someplace is pulling some behind the curtain strings. I mean, we talk about George Soros and some of the other big heavy money players. We talk about Amazon in the clouds. We talk about these gigantic firms that run the world, so to speak. And it's the point of who actually is in charge of all this, and what are they doing? I mean, literally. We really don't know the answers to a lot of these questions. And even the smart people, the politicians only can tell you what's going on with politics. The people that are military intel, they can only tell you what's going on military-wise, like who's, like a chessboard, who's checkmating who in what places. I mean, this is all crazy, but someplace there's an underlining question and somebody making that question and somebody answering it.
Yeah. Well, let's go ahead and change the subject and get on to what's going on at the border. Now, I found this video on Twitter, and I found it interesting because it takes place, it's part of the border in California, which doesn't get a whole lot of coverage.
Tijuana?
Yeah. And I find it interesting because it's talking about the LGBTQ community and how a lot of the illegals that are coming from there, they're going through California, that part of California, are part of that community. So let's go ahead and check that video out real quick.
Immigration officials in Tijuana say it's really hard to put a number on how many migrants show up in the city on a daily basis.
You can see the smog.
Some of the arrivals are members of the LGBT community. According to the Migrant Affairs Office in Tijuana, on a daily basis, about 120 migrants who identify themselves as LGBT are being allowed to cross the border through Ped West, one of the two pedestrian crossings at the San Isidro port of entry. They are getting what's called humanitarian parole and must prove they have a disability, health issues, or are victims of persecution and discrimination back home. Without these prerequisites, they aren't allowed into the U.S. And this is one of the reasons many Haitian migrants are having a tougher time getting north of the border. Tijuana's Migrant Affairs Office says a lot of asylum seekers from Haiti continue to gather outside shelters under the impression the facilities will help them get into the U.S. But this is said to be just a widespread rumor without any basis. Salvador Rivera, Border Report.
That's the Border Report. But what do you think about that? Do you think that's true? They're leaving their own countries? Because I don't know anything about South America, or I don't know how they feel about people that are part of that community, LGBTQ. You live in Brazil. Can you let me know what exactly is going on with that?
Let's put it this way. I have seen a couple of other videos from other countries too, not only from Brazil. They're not well liked worldwide. In other words, the world. Okay, give you an example here. My wife comes from a farm or a fazenda type family, which is grassroots. In other words, they don't have. It's basically they've got a tile floor in the house. There's no front door and there's no back door, and there's 2 bedrooms. One mom and dad sleeps in, and the youngest children, and the other brothers and sisters sleep in the other bedroom. This is grassroots from. So when you talk about transgenders and all the rest of everything else, the gay pride, and all the rest of this stuff, it's something that they're aware of, but they don't condone it because they're mostly religious people. They don't believe in it. In other words, what you do behind closed doors, fine, doesn't bother me. They have an expression here in Brazil. They go like, what I can't see won't hurt me. In other words, that's the way they look at it. So in other words, if somebody were to say, well, my girlfriend over there, she's a lesbian. I said, well, that's fine. Why did you bother telling me that? That's how they look at it. I didn't need to know that. Tell me that her father owns a car dealership. I'd be more interested in hearing that. So in other words, they don't like that. They don't like the special preferential treatment they're getting for something that's against, to them, it's against religion. It's basically down to religion. That's basically why they don't like this. And this is especially with Hispanics. They definitely don't go for that at all.
Yeah.
I mean, not that there aren't LGBTQ, whatever, keep on adding the letters. It's all crazy. It really is. I mean, this wokeness, this whole 9 yards is just completely it's not only the United States, it's all across the world. They've been pulling this garbage and they're not accepting it. They're not accepting it. You know where Serbia is?
Yeah.
Okay, Serbia. There's a video that I'm going to be showing tomorrow, and it's about exactly what you mentioned, and it deals with LGBTQ. And there's probably about 10 to 20,000 people against it that are come out to protest what was going to be a small little parade. People have had it. They're sick and tired of what sometimes I laugh about it too. This when you see a guy that's got a wig on and he's as big as me and he wants to talk with a woman's voice and said, well, I think it's okay to show the children. No. This is something that, it's sick. Literally, it's sick. But no, I think it basically has to deal with religion, and people around the world are, they're not going for it. They're not going for it.
Well, so it's not like the Middle East where they're trying to see if they can fly. It's not like that.
No, well, Middle East is, they've got to still break through the female barrier first here in the Middle East.
Yeah, exactly.
This is like jumping from the front of the horse all the way to the back of the horse.
Well, what cracks me up about that is because the left, they want to ally themselves with Muslims because they have similar things in common. Such wokeness is very similar to Islam in many different ways. Now, obviously, when it comes to LGBT community, they don't see eye to eye, but they do see eye to eye on certain other things, such as people that enjoy the company of minors. And when I'm talking about the left compared to Muslims. Because if you look at the Quran, his wife Muhammad is Aisha, I believe is her name, and
I think it's Aisha.
Aisha, and they get married they get married when she's 6 years old.
Well,
so they can.
The Mormons aren't that much further off. Trust me.
I'm not going to get into Mormonism, but anyway, Islam is something they see as an ally of theirs. But the thing is, okay, they're willing to ally with themselves to get rid of America, but at some point or another, there's going to be a confrontation between the two of them, and that's what's going on. That's what's going on with them and the leftists throughout the world. They're going to work together in order to get rid of the West.
Well, what you're saying is exactly true. It's whether somebody's Mormon, whether somebody's whether they're an Arab, with Islamic, believes in Muhammad, LGBTQ, whatever the situation is Western common cultures, in other words, interfere with their beliefs. And that's why they want rid of it, because they don't want the girls to be showing off above their knees. They don't want their women to show their faces. They don't want this. They don't, whatever it is, they don't want we offer it as a Western culture.
Yeah.
And they don't want it. And that's how the only way they can be aligned with each other. And then once they get their own way, then they go against each other.
Yeah. It's kind of like the fascists and the communists back in World War II, when World War II first started. People don't realize this. The Russians were actually on the same side with the Germans for a long time, until the Germans broke away and decided to attack them. Now, they had a non-aggression pact. That's what was going on. But the thing is, they saw each other as very similar to each other. If you look at their ideology, fascism and communism is very similar. The only difference is obviously in fascism, the corporations are in league with the government, instead of how communism works. The government takes over the corporations. So that's the only real difference. Other than that, when it comes to other policies, very similar. It's kind of like the difference between a Shiite and a Sunni. You know,
Yeah.
they're 99% the same thing until you look at minor differences, very minor, and mostly it has to do with their policies when it comes to women.
Yeah, it's you're not going to change the Arab world, and the Arab world's not going to change the Western world.
No.
And in other words, we've got to learn how to live together. That's what it's all about.
Yeah.
I mean, you know, and once again, that brings up to the same thing. We've got to learn how to live together, which simply means is we've got to learn to say certain things I do not accept. Please do those behind closed doors, and vice versa. In other words, things that they don't like. In other words, you know, like we talk about our First Amendment rights. I mean, there's a certain thing that push comes to shove with cussing, the F-bomb, in other words, a whole bunch of words. Some are really they're very distasteful to a lot of people. A lot of people don't like to hear swear words. But according to our Constitution, it's our right. It's our constitutional right of freedom of speech. But somehow in the middle, you've got to be able to, to find a common ground where certain things are acceptable in civil public, so to speak. In other words, if you want to get your waiter, the waiter in the restaurant, hey, yes, so get your ass back over here. I want to talk to you. As opposed to, excuse me, garçon, could you please come here? You know, there's certain ways of doing things that are appropriate and mannerisms, and certain things that aren't. I mean, you want to sit there at a table and make all sorts of noises and stuff like that, go do it in your own home. Other people don't want to hear it. Just like with screaming kids in a restaurant. They figured a certain way how to do that once upon a time. They moved the restaurants that once upon a time was smoking and then non-smoking, and then they had family and then adult sections. Where, in other words, you know, if you had a family, you stayed in one part of the restaurant. That way the kids could scream and run around each other's tables all they want. It didn't bother the regular patrons, so to speak. I mean, it's all just common sense and common courtesy to the other people.
Now, I got another video I want to show you, and it's the guys talking to these people that are coming into the going through the border, asking them where they're from, and it's amazing where majority of them are from. So let's go and watch that video real quick.
¿Son de Cuba? ¿Cuba? ¿Cuba? ¿Venezuela? ¿Cuba? ¿Nicaragua? ¿Nicaragua? ¿Cuba? Venezuela.
Take a good close look at the age and how good these people look.
Cuba, Nicaragua. Nicaragua, Nicaragua. Cuba, Nicaragua. Cuba.
The majority of these people most undoubtedly flew in by airplane to Mexico City and then ended up in Tijuana.
Yep.
They don't look. They might have to wait a day or 2 days at the utmost to wait to cross that border, but that's what Tijuana has been noted for. It's been noted for the easy pace. In other words, that's the reason why California's kept its mouth shut.
I don't know if that's Tijuana. Let me see.
No, I mean, in general, these people look like they probably are at Tijuana. I don't know if it is either, but generally that's what they look like. These people look good.
Yeah.
Very good.
It's at Eagle Pass. Okay. Eagle Pass in Arizona. But
so there you go. There you go. It's during daylight hours.
Yeah.
Doesn't look too bad to me. In other words, they definitely did not come through the Darien Pass.
No, they flew in. If you're coming from Cuba, you know, if you're coming from Cuba, if you're coming from there, you're flying in. You know, you're not going to go and sail in there and then walk. I don't think none of them look like they were all that. Look like they went through the Darien Pass, like you said. Now,
are you ready for what? Are you ready for one of the best destinations to fly into before you cross the border into America?
What would that be?
Cancun, Mexico.
Oh yeah, have you?
And they're vacationing there.
I love Cancun, man. Cancun's nice.
Yeah, it is. I've been there before too.
I've been there. It's nice.
So they go on vacation to Cancun and get a flight out, and next thing you know, they're at Tijuana and crossing the border.
Yeah. Yeah.
All relaxed, well fed. Who knows?
Well, we're going to have to call the end of this video. It's been 30 minutes. I hope y'all enjoyed the information we gave you and the videos we showed you. Go check out John at American in Exile. I have the link down in the bottom description area. If you want, I can go ahead and throw the link in the chat. Let me go ahead and do that real quick before we go. John, you have the last word. Go ahead and tell everybody what's going on, man.
Last word. No, I had to do that. I had to pull a William on you. Pretty much what we need to do is we really need to be cognizant of everything that's going around us in our lives, because things are going on in the shadows in America that's not being thrown out in front of our face. If you wouldn't see these videos, you wouldn't know this is going on, because our government doesn't want you to know. And when things come to shove, you better believe that there are, for everybody that's coming across, there's probably going to be 10 to 12 million people crossing over this year alone. And if you just take 10%, which is 1 million, that is a lot of people. And when you take 1 million, think 1 million bad eggs. That's a lot of people that have to gather around and shove back across the border, which is going to end up happening once we get control back of the House and Senate. That border is going to get shut, but that's going to create a whole new set of problems. People are not going to want to go.
All right, guys. Talk to you later. Peace.
Take care. Peace.